In the heart of Spanish Town lies a site that tells two stories. One of decline, a textile mill that once employed hundreds, shuttered for decades, left to rust and ruin. And another of resurrection, a gleaming industrial park where over 2,500 people now work, where international companies set up operations, and where an old railway line is about to carry passengers again. Hello, and welcome. Today, we're exploring Jamaica's ambitious push to transform from a tourism and service economy into a technology and industrial powerhouse. From the ashes of the old Araguanabo textile factory in Spanish Town to ambitious plans across street Catherine, Jamaica is building its future one tech park at a time. Can Jamaica really become the Caribbean's Silicon Valley? The answer may be taking shape right here, behind these gates. Let's find out. To understand where we're going, we need to understand where we've been. The Araguanabo textile mill was built in the 1950s on 65 acres in Spanish Town. At its peak, it was St. Catherine's largest employer, a symbol of Jamaica's industrial ambitions in the post-independence era. But by the 1970s, everything changed. Global competition from Asia intensified. Trade policies shifted, economic challenges mounted. Like factories across the Caribbean, Araguanabo couldn't compete. It closed its doors, and for nearly 5 decades, the buildings sat empty, a monument to dreams deferred. Prime Minister Andrew Holness, speaking at the official launch, framed the project as symbolic, showing that even dormant assets can come back to life when private capital, strong leadership, and supportive policy align. Prime Minister Holness has spoken about how, as a young man, he would pass this factory on the old train line and wonder why Jamaica had let its industrial heart die. That question would eventually lead to an answer, one that required vision, risk, and private investment willing to bet on Spanish Town's future. The question was, could anyone see potential where others saw only decay? Enter Michael Subrati, businessman, entrepreneur, and chairman of what would become MJS Industrial and Technology Park. 3 years ago, Subrati stood on the grounds of the abandoned textile mill with his brother-in-law and business partner, Paul B. Scott, chairman of the Musson Group. At the official launch, Scott admitted he was initially skeptical when Subrati pitched the idea. The site was burnt out and overgrown, with what appeared to be collapsing roofs. But Subrati kept pushing, convinced of the potential. Where Scott saw obstacles, Subrati saw opportunity. The bones of the buildings were intact. The location was strategic, near the highway, near Port Esquivel, alongside an active railway line. And most importantly, there was a workforce. Thousands of people in Spanish Town, Portmore, Old Harbor, and Linstead were commuting hours to Kingston for work. Subrati later explained his reasoning. It made no sense for people to commute hours to Kingston when the infrastructure in Spanish Town was still intact. They believed Spanish Town could support real economic activity again, they just had to prove it. What followed was a $50 million privately financed transformation. This wasn't government money. Subrati and Scott raised the capital themselves, negotiated with tenants, and convinced investors that Spanish Town could once again be an industrial hub. The approach was practical. Retrofit existing structures rather than demolish them. Install renewable energy systems, solar panels and battery storage. Add a well water system. Upgrade insulation to combat Jamaica's notoriously high electricity costs. Make the park sustainable, efficient, and cost competitive. By mid-2024, the first tenants moved in. By June 2025, less than a year later, all 440,000 square feet of the first phase were fully occupied. 7 major tenants now call MJS home. Transparent BPO, handling customer support contracts including Airbnb. Sagility, healthcare BPO services. InTouch CX, customer experience operations. Honeybun, building what the company calls its most advanced manufacturing facility yet. ODPEM, Jamaica's Office of Disaster Preparedness. Jamaica Fire Brigade, Area 3 Headquarters. Phoenix Towers, Telecommunications Infrastructure. Over 2,500 people now work at MJS. That's 2,500 jobs that didn't exist 3 years ago. And the target? 5,000 jobs once Phase 2 is complete. This isn't just about buildings. It's about economic momentum, the kind that Spanish Town hasn't felt in decades. But MJS isn't stopping at real estate. Running alongside the park is something many Jamaicans thought was a relic of the past, a working railway line. Jamaica's railway system, once extensive, has shrunk dramatically over the decades. Today, the most active route is the freight line operated by Windalco, transporting bauxite and alumina. Trains pass by the MJS facility several times a week. Most developers would have ignored it. Subrayte saw potential. MJS has received formal approval from the Jamaica Railway Corporation to build a passenger platform on site. The plan: enable workers from Spanish Town, Linstead, Old Harbour, and surrounding areas to commute to work by train. For a workforce that currently relies on buses, taxis, and personal vehicles, this could be transformative. Lower commuting costs. Reduced highway congestion. More reliable transportation. Subrayte has explained that they saw the freight trains already functioning, and knew the government was using rail to transport students into Spanish Town. That told them this wasn't an abstract idea, it was already operational infrastructure. This railway revival is happening as the government rolls out major public transport upgrades: 63 new compressed natural gas buses for urban routes, and 110 buses for a national rural school and commuter program serving over 250 schools. The vision: a multimodal transport system where trains complement buses, where industrial logistics and commuter needs align, and where mobility itself becomes an economic driver. Jamaica Railway Corporation Chairman Linton Johnson has noted that demand studies confirm the viability of commuter service in key corridors like Spanish Town and Portmore. He's emphasized that with targeted investment and policy clarity, the railway can deliver real value to both commuters and businesses. The railway plan goes beyond passengers. An international manufacturer already signed to occupy 100,000 square feet in Phase 2 plans to use the rail line to move raw materials from Port Esquivel and distribute finished goods. This is logistics reimagined: rail, port, and highway integration, creating a competitive advantage. If successful, this could be the first step in bringing passenger rail back to Jamaica, not as nostalgia, but as infrastructure for a modern economy. With Phase 1 at full capacity, MJS isn't resting. Phase 2 is already in the works, an additional 300,000 square feet of purpose-built manufacturing and logistics space. Unlike Phase 1, which retrofitted existing buildings, Phase 2 will be constructed from the ground up to meet specific client needs. One international manufacturer has already committed to 100,000 square feet. The remaining 200,000 square feet are being marketed in partnership with Jampro, Jamaica's investment promotion agency. Construction is expected to begin within a year, with full operations starting 18 to 22 months later. Once complete, MJS will span over 740,000 square feet, nearly doubling its current footprint. Subrayte has emphasized that while Phase 1 involved retrofitting existing structures, Phase 2 will be purpose-built from the ground up to exact client specifications. The economic ripple effects are already visible. Small businesses around Spanish Town are benefiting, from food vendors serving workers, to transportation services, to suppliers supporting manufacturing operations. This is what inclusive economic development looks like: jobs created not just inside the park, but throughout the surrounding community. And strategically, MJS offers something Kingston can't: space to grow, lower costs, and a location that connects western and central Jamaica. But MJS isn't the only tech park vision in Jamaica. About 20 kilometers away in Old Harbor lies 68 acres known as Marlie Mount, home to another ambitious project, Marlie Technology Park. On paper, the vision is compelling. A technology park blending BPO operations, light manufacturing, training facilities, innovation incubators, and even a boutique hotel. Plans include a Women in Technology Center, a youth innovation hub, and green operations throughout. In 2018, a $30 million United States dollars budget was announced. The plan: start with a 300-seat BPO facility, eventually scaling to 3,500 seats, with manufacturing and hospitality components. Initial backing came from Sagicor Investments with a $3 million United States dollars investment, and Sagicor Bank offered loan support. The project seemed poised to move forward, but then the challenges began. Disagreements over fund disbursement emerged. Development priorities shifted, investor relations soured. By 2021, tensions between Marlie Technology Park management and Sagicor had escalated publicly. Today, Marlie Technology Park remains largely undeveloped. While some facilities exist, including Marlie Suites, a small lodging operation, the grand vision of a 3,500-seat tech park has not materialized. The contrast with MJS is stark. Where MJS moved from vision to full occupancy in under 3 years, Marlie has struggled for over 7 years. The lesson? Vision alone isn't enough. Execution, capital discipline, stakeholder alignment, and trust are essential. But the story isn't over. The land is still there. The need for industrial and tech space in St. Catherine is real. If Marlie can learn from MJS's momentum and resolve its challenges, there may yet be a path forward. So we've seen the success of MJS, the challenges facing Marlie, and Jamaica's broader ambitions. But if Jamaica truly wants to become the Silicon Valley of the Caribbean, what must happen? First, energy costs. Jamaica has some of the highest electricity costs in the Caribbean. For tech parks and manufacturing, this is a deal breaker. The government recently reduced the general consumption tax on electricity from 15% to 7%, and Prime Minister Holness has promised a new energy plan. Solar, wind, battery storage, and policy reform must accelerate. Second, digital infrastructure. Robust, redundant, high-speed internet is non-negotiable. Jamaica needs continued investment in fiber networks, data centers, cybersecurity, and low-latency international links. Third, talent pipeline. Tech parks need more than call center agents. Jamaica must cultivate engineers, software developers, data scientists, and designers. Universities and technical colleges must align curricula with industry needs. Coding academies and apprenticeship programs must expand. Fourth, regulatory framework. Clear, stable policies on special economic zones, tax incentives, customs regimes, intellectual property, and investment approvals. Fifth, capital and partnerships. Jamaica's venture capital ecosystem is just coming into existence. Attracting large international firms whose presence draws others is critical. Public-private partnerships for infrastructure are essential. And the Jamaican diaspora can play a major role in capital, connections, and expertise. Sixth, ecosystem building. Buildings alone don't create innovation. You need density. Incubators, accelerators, co-working labs, tech events, networking, mentorship. Serendipity happens when people collide with ideas. And finally, inclusion. For tech parks to be sustainable, they must benefit surrounding communities. Jobs must go to locals. Infrastructure must be accessible. Housing, transportation, and social services must keep pace. Economic development that displaces or alienates communities will not last. Of course, risks remain. Overbuilding is a threat if demand doesn't keep pace. Power outages or energy cost spikes could undermine confidence. Brain drain. Jamaica's top tech talent leaving for higher salaries abroad is an ongoing challenge. And political or regulatory instability could scare off investors. But with disciplined execution and sustained commitment, experts see a 10 to 20-year horizon for maturity. The early years are about proof of concept, credibility, and momentum. So what should we be watching for in the coming months and years? Groundbreaking and occupancy of MJS Phase 2, the 300,000 square foot expansion, and whether it fills as quickly as Phase 1. New anchor investments, especially global manufacturers, R&D centers, or major tech firms. Progress at Marlie. Can the project be revived? Infrastructure milestones, passenger rail service launching, broadband expansions, energy policy reforms. Jamaican startups, success stories of local companies emerging from these parks. Employment figures. Does MJS hit its 5,000 job target? Do other parks follow? Ecosystem events, tech conferences, hackathons, accelerator programs taking root. And beyond Jamaica, watch the Caribbean. If Jamaica succeeds, will Trinidad, Barbados, or the Dominican Republic follow? Could the Caribbean become a tech powerhouse, not just a tourist destination? The story of Jamaica's tech parks is ultimately a story about belief. Belief that dormant assets can be revived, that old factories can house new futures, that places written off can reclaim their purpose. In Spanish Town, an abandoned textile mill has become a symbol of possibility. Over 2,500 people work here now, and thousands more may follow. A railway that carried freight could soon carry workers. And an island known for beaches and reggae is quietly building a new identity as a technology and industrial hub. Can Jamaica become the Silicon Valley of the Caribbean? The answer is being written right now. One investment, one job, one innovation at a time. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment. What do you think Jamaica needs to do to succeed as a tech hub? Thank you for watching.